The Reckoning update brought us melee weapons, something many players are asking for, and everyone else appreciates, whether they knew they wanted it or not. I personally love melee combat in first-person shooters. Scratch that, I mean to say I love it when it's done right. And only a few first-person games have really captured great melee combat. Witchfire is one of them. So I went about making this guide as a resource for the damage numbers we can get out of our melee weapons, so you don't have to too. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to be testing our melee weapons today. We're going to be starting with the fist, then the Katar, then the Morning Star. We're not going to be using the buckler because that's not really a melee weapon. It's more of a parry weapon. So I can't really test it in the shooting range with the rest of them. Now, this shouldn't be as long as a video as the Ailment bead testing video because there's not as much to test. But I will be testing the base damage numbers, burn damage, stun, and then burn and stun damage combined. Now, I did have to use these mini bosses because smaller enemies just die too easy to the overpowered combination. Once we start adding in burns and stuns, they just die instantly. So I needed enemies with higher health pools. Also, it should be noted that the Anointer, the High Executioner, the Sepulcher, Shield Bearer, Watch Commander, they all have the exact same armor ratings. So I'm just going to be testing against the Drowned Captain and the Anointer, because the Drowned Captain actually has a different armor rating than the rest of them. Even the Grenadier has the same armor rating as these guys. Alright, now let's get started. Starting off with the base damage. That's 70-50. Now for the Anointer. 45-32. So that first attack is going to be doing a lot more damage than the follow-up attack. The follow-up attack is kind of just there to finish off weakened enemies, get an extra hit in. Let's go for burn. 96-68 on the Drowned Captain. For the Anointer, 62-44. And yeah, that will be the exact same damage on this guy. Now we want to hit them while stunned. Just use that on this guy. 300 and 100. Pretty damn good. Anointer. Gonna take a lot more to stun this dude. Okay. 195-65. Beautiful. But if you want that real damage, you gotta hit them while burning and stunned. $412-137. That is impressive. What about you, big fella? $268 and 89. That's burning and stunned on these enemies. So we're getting massive increases each time. Stun obviously does more than burn, but when you combine the two together, you're just annihilating enemies. All right, we're switching up weapons. On to the Katar. All right, time for the Katar. Starting with the base damage. Drowned Captain, 100. Anointer, 65. Now we want burn. 137. 89. Now go for the stuns. 400. Anointer. 260. Yup, same on that guy. Same armor. Now burning and stun. See this massive damage. 550 on the Drowned Captain. 357 on the Anointer. So that's that. Now let's move on to the Morning Star. And our final melee weapon, the Morning Star. Got 200 in the base hit on the Drowned Captain. 130 on the Anointer. Now with the burn. 275. 178. Stuns only. 600 that time. Wow. Anointer's turn. 390. And finally, burns, and stuns using the Morning Star for some massive damage. Watch this. 825 on the Drowned Captain. And for the big fella, 536 on the Anointer. We were already hitting for some pretty high numbers using the stuns alone, but using the stuns and the burns combined, we hit for over 200 extra points on the Drowned Captain, and we hit for 40 extra points on the Anointed. That should give you a good idea of how to scale melee damage in this game. Like other sorts of damage, they scale off of burn and stunning enemies. Don't sleep on the melee weapons in this game because they can actually put in a lot of work. Mix them in with your spells, your gunplay. Mix it into combat to make it all one fluid experience. Alright guys, I kinda lied at the beginning. Or at least I changed my mind. I am gonna do some bead testing. I'm gonna test the Brawler Bead since this is the melee testing build. Also gonna test how much damage we can get out of using the Acute Ailment and Ailment Power Bead combined on burning and stun enemies. It's gonna add a bit of power to what we saw before, so you might want to stick around for that. But I thought it'd be interesting to test this Brawler Bead to see how much damage we're getting out of it, to see if it's actually worth using or not. Alright, first with no Brawler Bead, base damage. 20 on the Drowned Captain. 13 on the Anointer. That's pretty pitiful damage, but it's supposed to be that way. Now burning. 27. 17. Now we got the stuns. 40. 26. Now we want burns and stuns. 55. 35. Now with the Brawler Bead. 60. 39. A bit more than before, a bit more. Let's go burning. 82. 53. Let's go for some stuns. 80. 52. Burns and stuns. 110. 71. So I don't know. That wasn't really all that impressive. It's less than a 40-point increase on the Anointer and about a 55-point increase on the Drowned Captain. Can't say I would really recommend using the Brawler Bead. Alright, so now we're going to be testing the damage using the Acute Ailment and the Ailment Power Beads combined. Now, I'm not going to be doing a full rundown because I did all that in my Ailment Bead testing video, and we saw the damage ramp up there. Here, I just want to check the overall damage of both combined to see how much power we're putting into our melee attacks. Start with the burns. 129 and 92. That's pretty powerful already because before, we were only getting 96 and 68 on this guy. Anointer. 83 and 59. That's up from 62 and 44. You can already see where this is going. We're going in for some crazy damage. $553, 184. Anointer. 359, 119. Before, those numbers on the Drowned Captain were 412 on the first hit and 137 on the second. And on the Anointer, 268 and 89. Now for the Katar, burning. 184, that's pretty good. 119 on the big guy. That's an increase of about 50 and 20 respectively. Burns and stuns. 737. Whoa. It's gonna have more armor, so not as much, but 479. And our damage with the Morning Star. Burning. 368. 239. Burning and stunned. Same time. Let's see this big old damage. Big damage, big damage. 1,106. Holy jeez. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. Now let's see it on the Anointer. Hiya! 719. So yeah, it's not going to do as much as it does against the Drowned Captain, because this guy actually has armor. But I mean, if you do that much to this guy, He's all plated up like that. I mean, so yeah, that's why I had to show the damage using those two beads, because it actually scales pretty high. It makes a huge difference, even on melee weapons. And for chips and giggles, why not test the uncharged melee? Why not? All right, so we got both beads. It's gonna be funny, because it's not gonna be like crazy, but 110 though. I mean, hey, for an uncharged attack. So that was the drowned captain. Let's go for the anointer. 71. All right, stun him. And 147. See, now it's actually not doing too bad. I mean, for an uncharged attack, still pretty weak, but it's something. And 95. It was only 71 before on that guy, so got over 20 more points of damage. I still wouldn't recommend wasting an entire rosary slot on the Brawler Bead. Maybe if they increased our limit to like 6 or 7 someday, but for now, not worth it. So that will conclude the melee testing. I'll just leave this here for you guys to check out, so you don't have to waste hours of your days working on this like I did. But hey, I do it for the love of the game. And I feel like I've learned a lot, and hopefully you've learned a lot too. Good day to you all. Go out there, have some fun, and play some Witchfire.